Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I have you now.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. Hello!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. All right, this is the 30-something movie podcast. This time around, we're going to be talking Hellraiser. So we are, and Pat's just really excited because it's October.
If anyone can raise hell,
it's Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that special?
That's special. Could it be Satan?
Yes, actually, in both movies.
Actually, yeah,
you know,
it's pretty much.
Movies,
Yeah,
that's
pretty much exactly
horror movies.
what it is.
Exactly what it is.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. It's Satan.
That's special. Okay. So yes, this is episode number 158. We're going to be talking about Hellraiser. 158.
Do we have an idea for our 200th yet? Have we come up with anything?
Boat movies.
Boat movies.
Movies that feature boats.
Boats and things you do on them.
Things you do on boats.
Things you do on boats.
Things you do on boats. Yeah.
Is Patrick
an
on the boat?
episode that can't be beat.
Disproven by our...
That's true. Well, I'm sure it'll be a pleasure. It'll be a pleasure, whatever we do.
Between Pat beating off on boats and Bo's incessant waxing off, I don't know what to do anymore.
I don't even know what this podcast is about.
Why are we here? Hellraiser.
I have no Hellraiser.
Raising Hell.
Raising Hell. Okay.
Satan.
Could it be Satan? So very quickly, we spoil the events of the movies we talk about, so if you haven't seen it yet, you may want to go watch the movie first. If you don't care about being spoiled, we might be able to give you some indication as to why you should go watch it or shouldn't. So
it's a sled.
Stay tuned.
There, I saved you 3 hours of your life.
So I was watching, I've been going back through and rewatching Family Guy because I've never actually watched all the way through.
So much better at the beginning.
Oh, I know. And so, what was the one, and I totally forget the episode. I don't remember episodes because there's so much of the, interjection of the other little scenes, and so I never remember what happens in what episode. But the one that I almost fell out of my seat when I was watching it was Stewie sitting there playing on a little piano, and then all of a sudden it cuts over to Peter, and he's holding up like one of the masks from Amadeus, and he goes, "Play Peter Griffin." And it's the scene from Amadeus.
Oh, I don't think it's so bad. I feel rather like Mozart. Hey, Stewie, play Haydn. Now play Handel. Play Peter Griffin. Ah, now that is a challenge. Go ahead, mock me. But it wasn't Stewie who was laughing at me. It was God.
They do a cutaway to after Peter talks about Citizen Kane. They do a cutaway to someone watching the videotape that he had rented and returned, and it starts out and then it just cuts to him. It's his sled.
But I rented those for Peter. He got banned from the video store for taping over their movies.
Rosebud.
Is his sled. It was his sled from when he was a kid. There, I just saved you 2 long, boobless hours.
That's pretty funny.
Anyway, and that's like Hellraiser.
And there it relates on back.
It goes all back.
Because it's another waste of my life watching Hellraiser.
Oh!
Anyway.
So we know how Jeff feels. Right out of the gate.
Well, let's get this thing going.
Oh, man. You don't like evil Rubik's Cubes?
I don't mind evil Rubik's Cubes. I mind boring movies.
You know what? The perfect person to be on this episode would have been my brother.
He loves it?
My brother loves the Hellraiser movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So I would have loved to have him here. and then like have you say it's totally boring, and then have him just be like, "What?" and just explode, and because he loves these things.
You know what? There's an audience for every movie.
Oh yeah.
I am not the audience for this one.
Well, and I'm not. And we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but I'm not a diehard fan of this movie. I've seen this movie twice now.
But you're a fan of Die Hard.
Well, I am.
Okay.
Is there anybody that's not? I mean, that's.
Is that next year?
Yeah, I think it's next year. 88. Should be next year.
Yeah.
Is it 88 or 89?
I believe it's 88.
I think it's 88. Yeah, that's next year. Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have a strong opinion one way or the other about this movie. I enjoyed it. You know, it's not one that I necessarily will watch every year, but I've now seen it twice in the last year, and I don't have a problem with it. But it's not. I'm not like my brother, where it's one of my favorite horror movies from the '80s, and I'm not like you that
I'll
didn't like it. And,
I'll definitely expound on my on my thoughts once we get a little bit further in. But anyway, do your little spoiler. We spoil things.
Spiel stuff, and we spoil the spoiler. Who watches The Watchmen? It was a bigger question. I heard they're doing a TV series.
I had heard that as well.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but
I'm kind of okay with it.
I'm fine with that too.
I'm kind of looking forward to it, as long as they don't do to it what happened with Preacher.
See, I only got halfway through the first season of Preacher.
It goes nowhere real fast.
Really?
Like
Okay.
I thought Walking Dead slowed down too much. This one just went off the rails into its own direction. And
okay, I got halfway through the first season, and then I kind of.
It had promise in the first season.
I had other things came up, and I didn't finish it.
The first season ended up being almost a prequel to the comics.
Okay.
And then they were supposed to start with the comics lore in season 2, and it just
didn't happen.
Somewhere completely different.
Okay.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's when you
Yeah.
Anywho.
All right. Well, so that could be our new movie news segment is Preacher, but I don't think we have anything else. We talked a lot last week about Last Jedi stuff and all that. So I think that was kind of our new movie news stuff. So we'll go ahead and skip on into the movie for right now. Again, this one is called Hellraiser. Came out on September 18th, 1987, rated R. For many obvious reasons. Was 1 hour and 33 minutes. So not a very long movie, but longer than what some wanted it to be. It definitely felt longer than 1 hour and 33 minutes?
It didn't feel longer than an hour and a half, but it just...
Longer than you wanted it to be.
I mean, well, you saw my tweets.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing updates every 20, 30 minutes or so. Okay, halfway, or 30 minutes in, kind of bored, not really scared, a little grossed out. Okay, hour in, still hasn't picked up yet.
Okay. So, so rated R, hour and 33 minutes. Directed by Clive Barker, who also did Lord of Illusions and Nightbreed. Produced by Christopher Figg, who did Hellraisers 1 through 3 and Dog Soldiers. Written by Clive Barker, who also wrote the novel that this was based off of, called The Hellbound Heart. He also did Nightbreed and Candyman. Cinematography was by Robin Vidgeon, who did The Fly 2 and some episodes of Tales from the Crypt. Music was by Christopher Young, who did Spider-Man 3 and Drag Me to Hell. Budget for this one was $1 million, which is really, really low budget. Box office was... Sometimes it was noticeable. Box office was $14 million. Starring Andrew Robinson, who played Larry. He was in Dirty Harry, Cobra, and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I figured you would have enjoyed that.
Yes.
Seeing Garrick there.
Yes.
Claire Higgins played Julia. She was in The Libertine and The Golden Compass. Ashley Lawrence played Kirsty Cotton. She was in the Hellraiser movies and Red. Sean Chapman played Frank. He was in Hellraiser 1 and 2 and 7 Days to Live. Oliver Smith played Monster Frank. He was in The Great Train Robbery and Jesus of Nazareth. There's a spectrum of movies that you could be in.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Hellraiser, Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
Robert Hines played Steve. He was in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and
Hi,
Weatherby.
Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah, wallet.
Steve's a good guy.
I like pizza.
I like pizza. I did a little bit like that one time when we were having a cookout over at Middle South, and Chris was there with some of the other techie people, and so I started to act like I was the photocopied Steve, the photocopied clone, and so I picked up some chips, and I decided to go all in with this whole bit. Like, I like chips. Steve's a good guy, and I put the chips in my wallet and I closed it and stuck it in my pocket, and then about 2 seconds later I was like, okay, I'm done with that. And I pulled it out and I'm like, Ah, crap. Now I gotta take everything out, and I'm still finding pieces of chips in my wallet. That was not a good... Next time I just need to not totally invest myself in the routine.
You gotta invest.
That pizza would have been a disaster.
Pizza would have been a disaster.
So, yeah. Doug Bradley played Pinhead. He was in the Hellraiser movies and Nightbreed. Nicholas Vince played the Chattering Cenobite. He was in the Hellraiser movies and Nightbreed. Simon Bamford was the Butterball Cenobite. He was in the Hellraiser movies and Nightbreed. Grace Kirby played the female Cenobite. She was in a movie called The Gospel According to Vic. What's that?
Apparently.
There was a chick in there?
There was. Yeah. She was like the bald one that had the weird like wires coming out of her neck and her throat was open. She's also been referred to as the deep throat Cenobite for reasons of having a throat opened up.
This is not my particular genre.
Not your particular. Well, you don't like these movies anyway. You don't like horror, and this is maybe a little bit more on the extreme end of some of the visuals. And
it was cute.
Yeah.
Movie.
I don't know if anybody's ever called it cute before, but
cute.
It was cute.
And all those pins in its head.
They were adorable.
Yeah, he's kind of a funny guy.
Yeah, it was like a
just wanted to cuddle
like
him.
a little demonic sewing circle.
It's like pincushion.
There you go. Can I just borrow?
Come here, pincushion.
Bink. If they had used that sound effect, that would be perfect. Critics gave this a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audience a 73%.
A little bit too high.
Well, okay. So here we have. I'm going to read the nicer critic review first, and then I will read what Roger Ebert said.
Excellent.
Richard Harrington from the Washington Post said it's a dark, frequently disturbing, and occasionally terrifying film that suggests Barker's vision hasn't quite made the conversion from paper to celluloid. Roger Ebert said, from the Chicago Sun-Times, this is a movie without wit, style, or reason, and the true horror is that the actors were made to portray and technicians to realize its bankruptcy of imagination. 0.5 stars.
I can see that.
Okay.
I'm with Roger on that one.
Okay.
I can see that.
Okay. Cinema Score, there were no results for this one, for Cinema Score. Everybody, did you like this? But don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm leaving. I wasn't here.
Anyone.
I didn't watch this movie.
Anyone.
Anybody
here?
I'm here for Care Bears too. I don't know what that.
This one was nominated for Saturn Awards for Best Horror Film, Best Music, and Best Makeup.
It deserves more of a Uranus award.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's in Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 2, they get it in the end. Summary for this one is an unfaithful wife encounters the zombie of her dead lover. Demons are pursuing him after he escaped their sadomasochistic underworld. That's quite a summing up of...
That's pretty much it.
There you go. Okay.
And then a creepy guy eats cricket.
Transsexual Nazi Eskimos abducted by aliens and forced into weight loss programs. That's kind of what that description sounded like. That's from UHF. Sorry.
I thought that was Hellraiser 3.
No.
Okay.
Really?
It could be.
Wait, hang on. I threw down UHF and you guys didn't.
No, I got it.
Okay. But read that description. That's what it kind of sounded like.
Yeah. Unfaithful wife encounters the zombie of her dead lover. Demons are pursuing him after he escaped their sadomasochistic underworld.
I know. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it. What year is UHF?
I'd look it up, but there's no internet.
There's no internet.
Right now,
Yeah, because it's... Okay.
Because we've opened the hell box and nothing works anymore. All right. Anyway, here's the trailer audio, and then we'll get on with the show here.
I have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Hellraiser. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare. No. Unlike anything you have witnessed, is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. A film by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
right, so a couple things for this movie, a little bit of background. Doug Bradley, the guy who played Pinhead, was dismayed to be ignored by the other members of the crew during a post-production party after the filming had ended. He thought that he had got along pretty well with everybody, and it wasn't until later that he realized no one had ever seen him without his makeup on, so that's why they didn't recognize him at the cast party.
That's rather funny.
Many viewers have commented about the poor quality of the special effects at the end of the movie. Clive Barker has explained that due to a very limited budget, there was no money left to have done the FX professionally after primary filming. Instead, Barker and a, quote, Greek guy animated these scenes by hand over a single weekend. Barker has also commented he thinks the FX turned out very well considering the amount of alcohol the two of them consumed that weekend.
This was like the lightning bolts.
Yeah, like when they zap the demon people back to hell, the Cenobites back to hell. And the film was originally set in England, hence the obvious London locations, but the studio, New World, thought the film would be more marketable if it was set in America. So most of the English actors were redubbed by American actors, and it's kind of obvious sometimes. When Clive Barker first showed the film to his mother, she cried tears of joy upon seeing her son's name in the opening credits. He leaned over and whispered that would be the happiest she would be for the next 2 hours.
It's about the happiest I was as well.
Yep. Unlike many other horror movies at the time, which were more concerned with gore than great acting, Barker insisted that they look for real talent in the casting. Quote, I'm not just taking the 12 most beautiful youths in California and murdering them.
Find it.
Well, I'm not taking the 12 most beautiful youths in California and murdering them, he told the Washington Post in 1987. I've got real actors, real performers, and then I'm murdering them. The real refers to British theater actors like Bradley, Claire Higgins, and Andrew Robinson. In England, there was a law in which cockroaches of both sexes were not allowed on a movie set because they could have mated and caused an infestation, so Barker had to hire someone to oversee the situation. They had a cockroach wrangler. The wrangler, this is the honest truth, quote, had to sex the cockroaches. You know, there are some phrases in life that you never think you'll say out loud. I never thought I would say sex the roaches.
I might just be taking this the wrong way, but it sounds like an awful lot of effort. Maybe they should have just not made the movie.
Or take the budget from the Wrangler and put it towards, I don't know, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you smoke roaches?
That's a different kind.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Oh, and they also said that all of the roaches were male, and they put them in a fridge, so they had to slow them down for the filming so they wouldn't all run all over the place. So they put them in a fridge. The only way to slow them down was to chill them. They also chilled the maggots and the roaches, and then they kind of let them loose on the set whenever they needed them, and there you go.
So that's what they did.
Mm-hmm. Chill the maggots.
Chill the maggots.
Chill the maggots.
Sex the roaches.
You know what? So my heavy metal band, Canister of Satan, that I'm coming up with, our first hit single is going to be Chill the Maggots.
What happened? What happened to our band?
What was our band? What did we call our band?
I don't remember. All I remember is they
like
needed a reinforced stage.
Like the 3 circles or the, what was it?
Pat and the 2 circles?
It was like Pat and the 2 circles or the, it wasn't the 4 tops, but it was like something like that.
I'm uncomfortable at this point.
It was like an uncomfortable version of the 4 tops.
I just...
Chill the roaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know, I think our podcast title is going to be Chill the Maggots, Sex the Roaches.
I'm writing that down right now. Chill the maggots.
Sex the roaches.
Sex the roaches. Okay.
If that doesn't bring people in to listen to this episode.
That's going to, you know what? I might actually listen to an episode now.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. So, all right. So, let's get into it here. I mean, I kind of already know your opinions. So, Jeff.
Hi.
How do you feel?
Jeffrey.
Well,
does this give you warm fuzzies inside?
No. Okay. It gives me chilled maggots inside.
Ooh, chilled maggots inside.
Okay, so this was my first time watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen it before. So I do have a lot of better horror movies in mind and in terms of background of horror that this just it doesn't stand up to. Secondly, I just felt like it was a poor offering after we've gotten movies with the likes of Mike Myers and Jason and Freddy Krueger, that here's this studio saying, oh yeah, well, we're going to make a horror movie too, and our guy, he's going to be scary because he's going to have pins in his head. Ooh, look at the pins. Yeah, and we're going to have chunks of flesh. Ooh, chunks of flesh. We're scary. Ooh.
That could be our band name, Chunks of Flesh.
That could. And the comparison that I kind of drew, and I don't know why it took me to this, but Cary Elwes's character in Liar Liar, when he tries to do his version of the claw to the little kid, he's like, and you know, Jim Carrey's so over the top with it, and he's got this whole like, oh, it's gonna get high energy, and here comes Cary Elwes, he's just like, ooh, it's gonna get you, it's gonna get you. Here comes the claw. Ooh. Ooh, I feel like that was the feeling I had from this movie. Of, ooh, we're going to scare you. Here's our version of horror. Ooh, pins in their head. Oh, God, don't want to mess with him. He's got pins in his head. Look out. I just felt very underwhelmed and slightly bored because there was no solid story. Well, there was a weak story. I thought the acting was
it's a love story.
Awful. I don't think they got quality actors at all.
It sounds like most of them were stage actors. I don't know. Then I don't know if it just did they have trouble translating their stage acting skills to movie to film acting.
Do any kind of acting.
Well, right.
You know, I think that's a good.
I mean, it's a different enough. Yeah.
But yeah, and like I said before, every movie has its audience. Given what I knew of the horror genre at this point, watching this one for the first time, I'm not the audience for this movie. I don't do gross out horror. I'm more of the suspense type scare. I like the suspense. But
do you think that at the time? So if we rewind back 30 years, when this came out at the time, do you think that this would have been?
I would have been 10 years old.
Right.
Okay.
And I remember seeing the cover of this VHS tape at the video store.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though my parents would never let me watch this, I would always walk by the horror section and check out the covers of the VHS tapes and be like, "Oh, that looks cool." And I remember Pinhead looking terrifying. So I remember seeing this and thinking, "Oh, that's like a Freddy Krueger kind of guy. I don't want to run into that guy." Do you think that some of the shock value of this movie is dulled in 2017 because you look at the way that the angels, demons, whatever you want to call them, the Cenobites, the way that they're dressed is very much it's not goth. What is the word I'm looking for? But it's like they've got all the piercings and they've got all the leather clothes
like
and
punk.
Kind of punk, yeah.
It's like a
kind of
punk
S&M club kind of dress and because I think Clive Barker said at one point that's what he was going for, was he had the costume designers go visit some like S&M clubs in London, and he said, I want to mix that with like religious robes. Like I want them to be a cross between a priest and somebody you'd see at like this goth punk club, and give them a lot of piercings and other stuff. And so that's kind of the look they were going for.
That didn't translate.
Do you think that 30 years ago this would have been more terrifying and more shocking because... I'm not going to say that that's mainstream now because it's not mainstream, but maybe we've had more exposure to seeing things like that are more extreme than maybe what an audience in 87 would have been used to?
Maybe.
Because I think of being terrified of this as a kid, but this is not geared toward kids.
Yeah,
so would it have been terrifying to an adult?
Well, I don't think that
in 87?
I don't think he hit his mark.
No.
It certainly, to me, it didn't translate that the characters were a cross between pious people and punk goth people.
Okay.
I did not pick up on that at all.
Okay.
I didn't get any sense of that. In fact, I found them almost laughable.
Okay.
And basically just because of the way they were used. You have Pinhead, who's supposed to be this evil character who shows up for maybe 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah,
and when he does, he just stands there. He's not doing anything that's terrifying except controlling these quote-unquote minions of his.
Right.
That, again, you see them, you're just like, what? What is that butterball?
Right.
It looks like an overstuffed worm. It doesn't look terrifying. So I just don't think that they got the horror part right.
Okay.
Patrick?
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
Underutilized. I think Pinhead. I mean, he was iconic. I mean, I remember growing up and just being, "Oh, that guy freaks me out." There was some. I saw
Was this the first time you've seen it?
I think so. Okay. I
Okay.
remember seeing it. I mean, I remember the chains coming out of the box. I think I saw it at someone's sleepover, and I might have seen one of the sequels or something. Somehow I remember Pinhead showing up, and it was like bouncing through time, and there was something in the trenches of World War I.
Yeah, I think that's maybe 3.
Maybe I saw the third one. Yeah,
and I haven't seen them. I'm just going off of.
So I was familiar with the Pinhead guy, but it was like, just underutilized. I mean, it wasn't out there enough, and it's kind of like, I mean, it wasn't scary and all that, and I guess the nature of it was different in that the humans could fight back in some way, shape, or form, and it was almost like the Mummy, where he had to keep feasting on people to.
Right.
Maintain his form and all that kind of stuff. And then there was that weird, quote unquote love story that was happening in the middle of that. And then, I just don't know. And it was just kind of like, I mean, it's not my genre. And so I was just I was hoping someone that was a fan of it or the genre could explain it to me. But I look at it and it was just like, okay, my one thought was, wow, any other movie genre, what other movie genre tolerates low-budget movies like horror? I don't think there's that many movie genres where they're tolerated, where, it goes on as an iconic classic.
Or encouraged.
Yeah, or encouraged. And because it's just like, okay, it's just kind of like dialogue not delivered very well. Dialogue not delivered very well. Someone's getting ripped apart by chains. Dialogue that's not delivered very well. Dialogue that's not delivered very well. Oh, okay, now there's the cool-looking guy for a second. And, I just,
It didn't seem to pull together at all.
Yeah.
Like Frank. Are we supposed to like Frank? Do we hate Frank?
Which one was Frank?
He was the one that was coming
Frank
back
was the
to life.
Guy that got ripped apart in the beginning and
But
she had the affair with.
He was escaping hell, but to do that they had to kill innocent people so he could drink their blood essence or whatever.
Yeah.
It was weird.
And then he ended up really doing nothing in the movie except creepily going after the daughter at one point. And then she worked at a pet store.
Who was
some guy
with the bees
and ate crickets?
Was it crickets or bees? I thought it was bees.
I thought it was crickets.
Okay, and then he showed up at the end.
Yeah.
I was all confused.
Showed up at the end.
Because at the end it turns into a giant winged monster.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just
carries the box away.
Yeah, I didn't. That happened, and I said, okay.
Yeah.
I just quoted The Big Lebowski. Who is this guy? I was just like, who is this guy? And there was no one to ask because everyone was asleep. Right. And I was sitting there watching this like...
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not explained.
Right.
They don't bother to explain.
And I don't want them to explain. I don't want, what's this guy's name? Bob Barker. Who made this movie?
Clyde Barker.
Yeah.
Bob Barker.
I don't want you to explain it. No, but seriously, I don't want you to explain it. Don't go to the effort. It's okay.
We've got a beautiful box right here. What's your bid on this box? $1.
You can keep it.
I just don't get it. Like maybe it's just not my thing.
Spay and neuter your humans.
This and what was the
Boo.
What was the
things I never thought I would say.
There was a shortened thing that the rom-coms, Nimcoms. What was it called? Skycom.
What are you even talking
about? The thing about where the guys and the girls fall in love with each other and I don't like them. What are those movies?
Relationships?
Yeah, I don't like that stuff in movies.
Romantic comedies.
Rom-coms?
Rom-coms. That's what I'm trying to say. I just think that's another category that just
What's he talking about?
It just doesn't work for me.
I thought you were having a stroke.
I am not. This is what happens when I'm awake trying to talk during the podcast.
I'll start running through the acronym just to make sure that your face looks okay. And
well, let's not get crazy.
Well,
this is your face looks good. No,
does his face look okay?
Well,
it's
compared to
this is what happens when I'm awake.
Dennis isn't here. So.
Oh. This is what happens when I'm awake during a podcast.
Yeah.
My thoughts make no sense.
That's fine.
I don't want. It's not for. I just don't get it. I'm not getting it. I'm not really scared.
I think there's better horror out there. I think there was better horror Wow, better whore.
There's better what out there?
Well, there's better whores out there too. There's better horror out there at the time as well. Like, I just don't know what they were trying to accomplish. But like you, I remember seeing this movie cover at the video store, thinking, "Oh, this looks scary."
I wanted him to like just. If he would have had more of a part, it probably would.
And I was really shocked with how underused he was in the movie.
Yeah.
Pull out a sword, do some kind of like martial arts.
Pull the pins out of your head and throw them at people.
Yeah.
Oh, like a Superman 2? It was mildly inconvenient. Also, Family Guy. What was that? You ever seen that Family Guy one?
Maybe.
They talk about how ridiculous the scene is when Superman tears off the S in Superman 2 and throws it at the guy, and it wraps him up and then disappears.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, it's like that time that Superman did that weird power thing, and he tears off the S, throws it at the guy, wraps him up, and then he gets up and he's like, "What was that?" Like, well, was just, that was mildly inconvenient. Well, So for me, this movie, this is the second time I watched it. This week was the second time I watched it about a year ago because I knew that my brother liked this, and it was one that I had never seen before, and it popped up on Netflix. And I was like, okay, and it was probably about last October, so I was looking for some horror movies to watch. And I've gotten to the point now where I can't really watch horror movies as much anymore. I'll go back and I'll watch old ones that I've seen and that I'm kind of okay with, but I just have an overactive imagination, so if I watch a horror movie, especially at night...
Do you want to borrow my Universal movies? My monster movie collection, or are you going to buy one?
Maybe.
Okay, let me know.
I'll let you know.
You don't want to get into the new ones because...
I have an overactive imagination, so... And I know that this stuff is totally fake, but if I watch a horror movie too late at night, then I will not sleep. And my mind will start to imagine that I hear things and all kinds of other weird stuff going on. So I cannot watch the way I used as a kid. I used to stay up and watch horror movies all the time late at night. First time I ever watched The Exorcist was I went down by myself. I specifically waited until midnight, went down into the basement, put it on, turned off all the lights, and watched it in a pitch black basement by myself. And then when that movie ended, I just kind of sat in the basement and was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to stay here until the sun comes up.
Did you
and then I will get up and go to school. I have no idea. I think what I did was I turned off the TV and just ran all the way upstairs. And I was probably 16 at the time, so it's not like I was a young child.
Yeah, first time I watched The Thing, it was a sunny Saturday afternoon, and I was in college. Mm-hmm. I had a blanket wrapped around me so tight as my protective cocoon. I was freaked out.
So I wanted to watch this one because I remember seeing the VHS covers and thinking, oh, it's Pinhead. And I've seen, go to comic book stores, and I was a big fan of, Aliens and Predator stuff. So I'd always see like the Pinhead statues that people would have, or the, model kits where you could build Pinhead and the other Cenobites. And so I remember seeing these characters, and that was my biggest problem with the movie was when I came to it, it was the same thing. It was, I thought he was going to be in this movie a whole lot more. I thought it was going to be a Freddy Krueger type character where he's the one that's menacing you each and every time. Or it's going to be more like a Jason Voorhees, or it's going to be, it's going to be one of those kind of characters. And that was the thing that I came away with was, well, I kind of feel like I needed to see those guys a little more often. Now, I was still entertained by the movie. I mean, it definitely has its flaws. The acting is not great. And there's parts of the story that I looked at and I was kind of like, I wish... If we've got this box thing, this puzzle box that people have to open, I needed that to be... The beginning of the movie almost made it feel like it was Gremlins. Where you've got somebody, you're purchasing this thing from some exotic dealer. I need this box to have rules. Like, why does the box summon them? Are there different ways to reconfigure the box so it does different things?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Like
it's kind of like there almost needed to be...
It's separated and then turned and collapsed again.
Right.
What if it... Or is it possible, does it turn the other way? Or what if you turned it 2 clicks instead of 1 click?
Right. And I haven't seen the other Hellraiser movies, but I kind of feel like I shouldn't have to. If I was in 1987 watching this movie for the first time, that's kind of what I think I'd want to see was... I want that information in this movie, as if it's a standalone with no other sequels. What's going on with this box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box? And then the Cenobites, after I thought about it a little bit, I mean, what is a movie that you could take these characters and they really would fit well with everything else that's going on in the movie.
The Muppets.
And well, that would be terrifying.
Yeah, they were just as ridiculous.
The Muppets Take Hell? Is that... Yikes.
They look like big Muppets.
Okay. But I thought if you were to take these Cenobite characters and put them in another scary movie that deals with a similar theme, I would probably do Event Horizon. Like, I'm thinking you've got these... Because I want... That's the other thing I wanted to see is if these things are going to be menacing, and if these things are, like, trying to drag people to hell or wherever...
They just seemed like that Superman thing for Family Guy.
Yeah.
They just seemed inconvenient.
It was mildly inconvenient.
Yeah, they were dragging the people.
They were like, if you mess with the box and they showed up, because the idea was that they kind of said this, some people call us angels, some people call us demons, we are
pain, pleasure, it's all the same.
Right. It's like what you think of as hell is really just, we don't know the difference between pain and pleasure, so hell is just an extreme of both of those together, and that's what Frank was looking for, and why he opened the box, and what he got apparently was that such extreme pain that it was also pleasure, and I don't know, that's not my lifestyle, so I don't necessarily understand it, but to each their own, and their own can stay away from me. So I mean, with that part of it, if they're going to be more menacing, maybe I needed to see more of what they were dragging people into.
Yeah.
And then maybe I would have been more freaked out when they show up. But we didn't get to see... The closest we saw to whatever other dimension they're from, which I thought was a nice effect, was when you had like the brick wall and the seams in the brick wall would light up and everything else was black. Or when the wall tore open and you ended up down that dark corridor and then there was that weird, creepy scorpion worm animal thing that chased after her. Mm. I think I needed to see more of where they come from.
Yeah.
Which at the time might have pushed them into an X rating as opposed to an R rating, so they might have had to avoid... Maybe they filmed some of that and just had to cut it away. But that, to me, is a little bit more of maybe what I needed. The other part about the low-budget stuff, this time I noticed, I didn't notice it the first time I watched, is I'm watching the scene where that creature is chasing her down the hall, and I had to pause it and go back just a little bit. I'm like, you can see the wheels for the cart that this thing is on.
Oh, no kidding.
You can. You go back to that scene, you can see the wheels, and you can see the guy behind it. You can see his feet as he's pushing this thing along. And I'm like, really?
That's kind of funny.
Okay. So it was so that I stopped it. I watched it a couple other times. I'm like, yeah, no, you can see the wheels.
You get what you pay for.
Right.
That alone might make me go back and watch the movie just to see
to see that part. Yeah. So again, I mean, will I check out the other sequels? Possibly. I'm intrigued enough by these characters that would I want to check out and see what they do with them? Because this movie, as much as the critics didn't necessarily care for it, it at least did well enough that they did other sequels.
Right.
And I almost want to say, was there a TV show at one point?
I think so.
I feel like there was a TV show. So it was successful enough that they went on and they expanded the story. So I'm wondering if any of the sequels would be better than the original. So I'm curious enough
to
go see.
It'd be hard to be worse.
Well,
and to be honest, I kind of came in here today with like the same preparation I had with
H.
Not H. What's the one with "This is my boomstick"? Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead.
When I saw Evil Dead 2, I was kind of like, the same. Like, okay, maybe I didn't get it, and you guys were all shocked and said, "Oh my gosh, how can you not get it?" And then the discussion was, "Oh, well, have you seen Army of Darkness?" No. That's probably it. Go see Army of Darkness. And then this will look like a prequel. And you're right. I went and saw Army of Darkness. I'm like, this is pretty tough, man. It's a pretty awesome movie. And then I went back and it was like, oh, okay, then you understand it. So I kind of came here tonight kind of expecting the same thing. I would be just as not surprised. I'm not surprised to hear Jeff's thoughts and your thoughts, but I'd be just as not surprised if you said, oh, wait, no, man, with that... see Hellraiser 3 is the best. And then once you see Hellraiser 3, okay, then this become, so maybe your brother's reaction, your brother likes this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his thing, or, I mean...
Maybe he likes this. Well, but he does like this one as a standalone movie, but maybe he's seen the others and he just likes the whole series and the mythology.
Maybe the others do put it into a different context for that.
I don't know.
Maybe explains some things like the... bearded dragon cricket eating man.
True.
And who is this guy? I mean,
yeah. Well, and that was and even though the first time I watched it, I I was entertained. I don't know if I'll say I enjoyed the movie, but I was at least entertained enough
Yeah.
by it to keep watching it.
Well, good.
But when it got to the end and the guy walked into the fire,
Well, good for you, John.
Good for you.
Yeah. A for effort.
Get you some ice cream. When the guy walks into the fire and picks up the box and then turns into this winged creature, that was the only time watching this initially a year ago where I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where did that come? Okay. That was the only moment that I had where I was like, yeah, it's just weird. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't need that part. If you could show the box in the fire, and then you could do a nice dissolve. You could do where it fades into, and then you see the box sitting on the desk again, or sitting on the table again, where the dealer is then trying to sell it to someone else. You don't need that whole winged creature thing.
Do we assume that the winged creature thing brought it back to the dealer?
That's my assumption. I don't know.
I
need the box to be a little bit more like Gremlins. I need there to be rules. I need there to be 3 rules, or something like that, so that I understand the box better.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my horror to be more cerebral than.
I've always had problems with Rubik's Cubes anyway. I would be dead. If this thing was like a Rubik's Cube and I had to solve that to get the demons to keep, or whatever they are, to like not take me to hell, I'd be gone. I'd be done for. I'd never finish it. Because I feel like this one you can't take the stickers off and put them back in a different order.
Yeah.
Can't cheat.
No.
So I think I'd be done for.
Yeah, give me suspense. I like suspense. I like feeling uncomfortable because of situations. Give me Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Give me even that first Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
Stuff like that where it doesn't. The grotesque doesn't get me. It's just gross.
Yeah.
So like the Saw movies. Yeah, there was whatever.
Okay.
But make me second guess myself, which is why I always go back to Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Plant some seeds in my head, let me start filling in the gaps on my own, and let me scare myself. Don't show me what I'm supposed to be scared at every step of the way, because, quite frankly, I wasn't scared of anything in this movie. So would I go back and watch this one? Probably not. Would I watch the sequels? Someone would have to convince me that it's going to be worth it because X, Y, and Z. I get the explanations about this, and that. I get to learn who Bearded Dragon Man is.
I'll check them out at some point. I'll let you know. All right. Do we have anything else we want to say about Hellraiser? It clearly did not raise enough hell for us.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't work for me.
Okay. All right.
It didn't quite do it for me.
There you go.
Spaceballs.
Yes.
Just making sure.
You know what? I was going through Netflix the other day, and I thought I saw a movie on there called Cube.
Yes.
Which, if you haven't seen Cube, that is a great movie.
That's a good one.
That's definitely worth checking out. It's a great character study of just problem solving. Yeah, I mean that's what's that?
If you like puzzles.
If you like puzzles,
kids.
That'd be
My kids love puzzles. I'll show it to them.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. That's like watching the movie The Cell because you like horses.
Jesus.
Have you ever seen that one?
No.
No? Okay. Do you like horses?
Cube came out in '97.
Yeah, don't watch it if you like horses.
Okay. Take place at a glue factory or something?
No, there's a scene where it all takes place in the mind of a serial killer.
Oh, good.
And they like insert themselves into the mind of a serial killer, and so they're in his imagination. There's just a scene where like a horse is standing in the middle of a room, and all of a sudden these, I don't even know what it is. It's like these divider things slam down on the horse, and you're staring at this horse, and it's still there, and it's still like moving around like it's living. And then all of a sudden, all the pieces start to separate. And the horse is still alive, but you're seeing a cross-section of the internal organs of the horse, and the horse is not dying. It's just weird and freaky. And yeah.
So that's like Cube.
Yeah. So it's like Cube, but with puzzles instead of horses.
Yeah.
So yeah, if your kids like horses, you go watch The Cell. Because it's got horses.
You should watch Cube. It's very cerebral.
Yeah.
Very much like I said, it's very much a character study. And
Does it also fit into the horror genre?
Would you call it a horror?
Thriller, maybe.
Maybe a thriller.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I call it a horror.
Sci-fi thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, in the meantime, you can catch us on all the social media spots by going to 30podcast. Twitter, Facebook, all those different places. 30podcast@gmail.com to get a hold of us. 30podcast.com for our website. We are on Google Play, iTunes, website, Satchel, Stitcher, all those places you can find podcasts. Next time around, our episode is going to be Near Dark, and that will kind of finish up our horror movies for the month. But until then, be excellent to each other and go watch some good scary movies.
Mm.